All right, let's talk about Witt's teammate, Harold Perkins Jr., towards ACL last September. And then in December, he said he's coming back to school, which I thought was a great decision on his part. And here's my big question. They played him off the ball. They played him at 9 technique. They played him in the slot. He played overhang. So they moved him around a lot. My big question is how will his size impact his ability to play different positions at the next level? Because I don't even know what his true position is, if we're being honest about where he might end up.
And see that, and that was part of the reason why he was a little bit further down for
Okay.
me, because I'm like, what is his true home position? And he was another young man that, like I said, that day I went into LSU, had a really good conversation with him, talked to him for a couple hours actually.
Okay.
And at the time, and you get it, he was coming off of ACL. He was under 220. He was probably around 217, 218 at that time. And even I had originally saw him the year before at the pro day, at LSU's pro day, and he was still around his probably normal walking around weight is maybe 220. So he's on the smaller side, lighter side. And I hope he watches this because he told me back at the pro day those years ago that whenever he came out, he was going to run 4.3. So I told him I would hold him to that. But he's a guy that I think he can play Will Backer. I think he can play Sam Backer. And the guy I actually comped him to was another former LSU linebacker in Kwon Alexander. And I thought, because they're built kind of similar, because Kwon isn't a very big guy. But the thing is with Kwon was very aggressive in his block destruction, his ability to strike. And he played on the edge some too at LSU his last year. But I thought Harold was a very good athlete, which I think helps him because he's a step slow in terms of reading the triangle and seeing it when him playing off the ball. But he's able to get there because of his short area burst and close. Now, the one thing that kind of caught me a little off guard was I expected him to be better in coverage, just because of his size. And I think he can turn, run, and match up with tight ends in those man situations. But just being able to spot drop, get to a spot, and process and fill routes, I didn't think that was his strong suit, which is why I think they put him in a position where they just brought him forward a lot on those obvious passing downs. And then I'd like to see him improve as a tackler. I thought there were times where his tackling felt like a DB instead of a linebacker. There wasn't.
Right.
Now he had moments where if he lines you up, he can bring and deliver a blow. But those consistent down to down tackles to me felt more like a DB with him tackling, below the waist area. So we wanted to see him improve there. But he's a dynamic athlete. He's explosive, and you just hope all those things come back to him. Recovering from this ACL.
And one of the things with ACL that is that sometimes it takes not 12 months, but maybe 18 to 24 months for you to mentally trust yourself, your knee to do what it was doing before the injury. So we'll see. Hopefully that comes back sooner rather than later. But just looking at my notes, I sort of echo what you said in terms of him being off the ball, and he struggled to get off some interior line blocks, which is not uncommon. We just talked about why that is. But when he lined up outside, like 7 technique, 9 technique, little dip and bend, he was a problem for some of these bigger offensive tackles trying to move their feet. And if they brought him on these blitzes from like the slot or the overhang, he could also force a little re-anchor, which just proves that he's perhaps stronger than the 215 to 225 might suggest. But again, it's all got to come together, and hopefully he's back to 100% mentally, trusting his knee when he gets out there, because he can be a sort of sideline to sideline hair on fire player. Just got to see it. But I when he was healthy pre knee injury, I had him going in like mid to late round 2. I felt comfortable with that. I don't know if that's too rich for you.
No, because I think he'll be a day 2 pick. Barring him coming back fully healthy. Again, I think the big caveat for that is going to be where teams value him and where they think he's going to play in their system. Now, what most teams will likely do is put him at Will Backer, put him in a situation where he can just run, chase, and hit.
Yep.
Because he'll be able to do that. But again, it's just a matter of where teams value him, and I can't see teams valuing him as a true edge guy, bringing him off the edge on a down to down basis because he's 6.5 feet, maybe a tad right at 6'1", and like you said, between 215 and 220.
Yeah, I have a soft spot with these guys apparently because I mentioned during the Edge Rush show, Centarian Perkins, the Ole Miss edge rusher, who's 210. and he is absolutely electric. But what are you going to do with that at the next level? So I'll continue to push guys with short arms and who are underweight, and someone's got to speak up for him, Ran, because if I don't, who will?